Ladies and gentlemen, Kim here. Welcome to the Daily Update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today in this volatile shenanigan day we've seen today, which we're going to be talking about in this presentation. S&P is pretty much flat here, as you can see. However, NASDAQ and semiconductor did see move rotating into those sectors there. NASDAQ is up about 1.3, semi-similar. However, Dow's down a little bit. Russell 2000 down 1%. Banks and energy did get hit harder. Same with the transport. However, these three guys, right? The banks and the energy and the transport, they made a huge move this year since late last year, actually outperforming all other indices. So, I think there's some funds are rotating out of these guys into the tech sector and pretty much S&P sandwich in between. And so that's good to see. The market is still rebalancing itself. Still, there's some sector rotation occurring there. Biotech is up a little bit. Pharmaceuticals down a little bit. Emerging market is up 0.5% there. Grayscale Bitcoin is down a little bit. However, today gold and silver and the miners are down quite a bit there. I don't remember the last time we saw gold and silver down 3% on gold, almost 5% on silver, also another 5% in silver, I think. Gold and silver miners and the investors in that area didn't like what the Fed had to say. So looking at things overall, though, I think this decline could be trouble, but I will talk more about that maybe this weekend on the weekend analysis. Dollar is pretty much slightly green today, right? Oil's down 1.5, Treasury bond is down or up about 1.5 there, and VIX is down a little bit. Let's stick with the spider. S&P 500 ETF 65-minute chart here. So this is where we, let's see here. This is where we closed yesterday, right here, right? So it looks like we gapped down slightly. This is where it opened. And then we saw a little bit of fluctuation to the downside. Got back up here, but that short-term moving average no longer respecting the buyers at this point. It used to, as you can see if I zoom out a little bit, that short-term moving average was the previous support. It is now acting as resistance, as you can see. As soon as we bulls were not able to protect that short term, you see bears came in. And that's the short term, that's the short term, that's the short term, that's the short term, that's the short term. There's a little bit of whipsawing action here, but the day has ended with the price below the short term. It would have been better if the buyers were able to bring the price above the short term, but you can see the price, you can see that long upper wick here. On the last hour, there's some battles going on. There's a micro term resistance there of 422.52, long upper wick here, and then price closed below my short-term moving average with the long tail, kind of like a shooting star type of candle. However, I wouldn't put too much weight on that candle just because we're still in this sideways consolidating type of price action today. So I don't think this candle doesn't signify much unless we see obviously a downturn. Follow through maybe to the downside, but I wouldn't put too much weight on it at this point. What I would put a lot of weight on, though, would be if I zoom out a little bit, if we can kind of see overall trend of things. First of all, you can see that the bears, they tried it one more time to fill this gap. Remember we talked about this gap here, right? This is kind of what I said to you guys. Remember back in, I don't know, all throughout early June, when this thing was happening here, why the gap is important. Why do you think I track gaps? Why do I put a little box in there to let me know that there's a gap in there? But why is that gap important? You can see that when there is a shenanigan, when there's a down move, when there's a slide in price, right? This is where the buyer is going to go to for a comfort, right? There's a little bit of cushion in there. You can see bears brought it down. Where do we find support? A gap area. Bears brought it down yesterday. Where do we find support? A gap area. Bears tried it one more time today to bring it down. Where do we find support? A gap area. right? What about this here? Looks like there's a bears brought it down. Where do we find that comfort of that cushion of the gap area? So, and another thing that I talk a lot about in these videos is that it's better when the gap isn't fully filled. For bears, however, if you're a seller, it is better if you can, fill that gap, the entirety of it, not leaving anything behind. I thought maybe today, second attempt from the bears, we might see this gap getting filled, entirety of it, but looks like we did leave a little bit of that gap open. So that, and because of that, you can see why did we see a little bit of buying, pressure on that 4th hour, right? Even on the last hour we did before that little fade there, because that gap wasn't fully filled, right? And so now bulls are threatening at this point, because right now what bears are living off of is that short-term moving average, right? That's still declining, and we still close below it. So we want to give benefit of the doubt to the sellers in the short to micro term, right? But are we bullish in the midterm or bearish in the midterm? Well, midterm we are bullish, right? That's a low, that's a higher low. Are we in the vicinity of high low? Yes. We don't know that that's going to be higher low yet until we see a full move and reclaiming that short-term moving average like this. But you can see that the my midterm moving average is rising. And so, that's actually considered my short-term. That's my midterm. But I think in current market situation, let's call this short to midterm, just because the market has been so lethargic. So let's call this a short to midterm. This will be a midterm, right? So in the short to midterm, we want to give benefit of the doubt to the buyers. But in the short to micro term, we want to give benefit of the doubt to the sellers. So when you have this conflicting information, what can we look at? Well, this gap wasn't fully filled, so that gap still remains open. With that, there's a little bit of buying pressure. So what the buyers want to do going into tomorrow needs to get above 422.52. That's a micro term resistance. Needs to get above it first 2 hours and stay above it. If we can see something like that and stay above in the first 2 hours, there's good chance that this might be that low that bulls are looking for before the new all-time highs. What about the bears though, right? Bears been seeing this profiting off of this short-term, short to micro-term, short-term moving average there, right? Because it's bulls having hard time pretty much all day long today, not able to get above and stay above it today, right? So bears gotta make sure no bull's gonna ever get above this short term, right? And continue to push it down and maybe try one more time to fill this gap. Bears, you must fill this gap. And my short to mid-term moving average is residing in that vicinity, but that's another thing. You're probably going to have to worry about it when we get there, but that gap needs to be filled, right? That was the first objective for bears. So now we got clear objective for bulls and bears. Bulls, get above 422.52 and close above it and stay above it for the first 2 hours. Bears, continue the pressure. Don't let bulls get above that short-term moving average and then go back down and then fill this gap. Let's check out that oscillator and see if we can extract any more information. First of all, this setup. Are we still in this setup, that 460 setup? Have we reached the verdict where this setup is no longer valid, right? Well, I think it's hanging on by a thread, and we're pretty much, bulls might be just, that might not play out unless you can see the oscillator hasn't come down all the way. So what I talked about on the last night's update, I said, if this thing does come all the way back down, that dream right here, this dream has been sailed. That's gone. That setup is no longer valid. It's obsolete. However, bulls did something, man. Bulls made the state sideways. With that, the oscillator did not come all the way back down. We're still barely hanging on that support, right on that potentially pivot as potentially new support. We did see that cross. However, we've seen this whipsawing action before. follow through is important for bulls. If bulls want to turn this around as quickly as possible, they need to see a follow through and get above 422.52 and stay above it first 2 hours, and preferably stay up all day long. Bears, you want to see another whipsawing action here. This oscillator going back down, because if this oscillator does not come back down, we see a big advancement with some confidence spreads on these lines. You're gonna see this dream playing out, and bulls might bring it up pretty fast to the upside. Let's see how it plays out. You guys enjoy the rest of this evening, and good luck trading tomorrow.